Hey, Mayor Pro Tem Barcena, the meeting is now being recorded.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. The meeting will now reconvene at 6:09 p.m. City Attorney, please provide the closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item listed on the agenda. Outside legal counsel provided a report. Direction was given, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will now adjourn the closed session. City Council meeting at 6:10 p.m. Call to order. Good evening and welcome to the April 8th, 2024, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:10 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any of the members should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you are recusing from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Now for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Leal, and the pledge of allegiance will be led by Girl Scout Troop 2543.
Mayor Barcena, Pro Team, and the rest of the councilmen and councilwomen, it's always an honor to be here, especially on a day of the eclipse. It's so good to see all of you, our chief, the rest of the city directors, and our citizens that are here. When I thought about, well, I live close by. I was walking this way, and I thought about, the prayer. And I just want to mention a verse that it speaks about what is in the heart of God toward us. And it's found in Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I have when I think about you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a peace." Let us pray and let us invite the presence of God upon this meeting. Father, we want to thank you for each one of our leaders. Father, thank you for our city. Thank you for each one of our citizens. And Father, we know that all wisdom and grace comes from you. And we invite you to be with us. May you be in each decision that is taken in this meeting, Father. We ask this all in the name of Jesus. And can we say amen? Thank you.
Please stand. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Clerk, please call the roll of the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. And also let the record reflect that Mayor Jorge Chavez just arrived, so will he be taking over the meeting? Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Gomez.
Present.
Councilmember Pulido joined us at 5:18 for a closed session.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez
Present.
and Mayor Pro Tem Barcena
Present.
and Mayor Chavez.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to ask for direction made from legal. Since we have our mayor here, should we allow the mayor to continue with the meeting?
Yes, he can continue.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mayor Pro Tem Barcena. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, we will now move on to presentations. City Manager, please introduce the presentations.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Chavez. The one and only presentation we have tonight is a proclamation declaring the month of April as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Advocacy Month. And I will turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Barcena for the presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to read this proclamation. And today is a very exciting day. It's a very exciting month. We are proclaiming this month of April 2024 in honor of arts, culture, and creativity. So before I read this, I would like to invite some local artists that are here today. So if I can ask Henry, also known as Anibus, if you can come up here. Also Javier Solórzano, if you can come up to the microphone. Michael Sandoval, Monica Kakimoto, Lucia Veloz, and I do believe we have some organizations that also support the arts here. The Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens is a community group if she'd like to come up too. And I'm going to go ahead and read this. This is for you guys. This is for everyone that participates in the arts here in Bell Gardens. Whereas arts, culture, and creativity in Bell Gardens is now celebrated on this month of April, the 6th, for the 6th annual statewide celebration, first established by the California legislature in 2019. And whereas the city of Bell Gardens believes that arts, culture, and creativity are essential to our thriving community, and whereas arts inspire discovery, lifelong learning, and joy, and whereas culture creates connections, encourages understanding, and strengthens community, and whereas creativity sparks innovation, growth, and positive change, and whereas the Bell Gardens City Council and staff lead efforts to advance the arts through programs, partnerships, and community building initiatives, and whereas the City of Bell Gardens values partnerships with residents and local, county, and state level arts organizations, and whereas this collective work of the local level and throughout the state encourages racial equity, uplifts our community, and changes our lives for the better. Therefore, on this 8th day of April 2024, the City of Bell Gardens hereby proclaims April 2024 as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month and encourages everyone to join in the celebration. Proclaim this 8th day of April 2024, and this is signed by Mayor Jorge Chavez, but comes from the entire council. Thank you so much for everything you do. Each and every one of you there is either an artist locally or a volunteer that works towards arts programs. I want to thank you so much for everything that you do, and we're going to continue to uplift the arts here in the city of Bell Gardens. And at this point, I'd like to open it up to my colleagues if they have any comments.
I just want to say thank you so much for being so involved with the community when it comes to arts. Unfortunately, at schools, that's one of the first programs to go when funding gets cut. So the fact that we're able to offer a variety of different arts to our residents, to you guys, which you're also part of our community, I really, really thank you for everything that you do.
Quiero darle las gracias a todos los artistas de Bell Gardens que ayudan a promover las
I
artes.
want to
Las artes son
thank
medio de
all of the
crecimiento
artists in
grande
Bell Gardens. Art
para
is
cada
a very
persona
important
y es
expression
importante para la
for
ciudadanía
every person, and it's
para
important for the
participar
city as
beneficiar
well.
de que aquí también
And
tenemos
that
cultura,
other
arte y
residents
creatividad
see that
y
we
para que
have
ellos también
culture
expresen
and
sus artes
creativity
de
here,
manera
and to encourage other
Muchas
people to
gracias.
also express themselves in an artistic way. Thank you very much.
I'd like to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Really appreciate all you do for the community, right? When we think about the arts, when we think about the culture, it sums up really the concepts of us as human beings, right? That's the way of our expression. And arts comes in a variety of forms, right? It's not just simply paint on canvas, right? It's the dances, it's the music, it's the language, it's the food, right? Really. So I appreciate everything you do for this community and really putting Bell Gardens on the map when it comes to arts. I'd also like to echo and really thank Mayor Pro Tem Barcena on this, because I know he's been very, very, very active within the arts here in Bell Gardens, but also across the county. So really appreciate all the work that he's done in the spearheading he's done to get BG Arts in the map. So again, thank you so much for all you do. And always know that as behalf of the city council, we're here to support the arts. So thank you again.
Thank you. And I do have some paintings. I know you guys brought some of your work, so we're going to take a big happy picture with everybody. And I am gonna hand this proclamation over to one of our artists here today so that they can take it home with them. Again, thank you so much, and if you guys don't mind coming up here so that we can take a picture.
Okay, moving on to public hearing item number one. We will now begin item number one on the agenda. At this time, I will open the public hearing at 6:22 PM. City Manager, will you please introduce the item?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This item is a consideration of adoption of an ordinance to amend the Chapter 5.64 of Title 5 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code to restrict the number of business regulatory permits for cannabis retail businesses. I'll turn it over to our Community Development Director and Deputy City Manager Gus Romo to provide additional information. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mr. City Manager, and good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. At the regularly scheduled City Council meeting and Successor Agency meeting of March 11th, and also following council direction of February 26, 2024, staff presented a report with 4 options with regards to amending the cannabis ordinance. One option was to simply receive and file and take no further action. The other 3 options were to direct staff to amend the existing ordinance that regulates commercial cannabis activity to include one or more of the following actions. First one was to amend the zoning code, which is Title 9 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code, to permit staff to regulate the ability to accept applications for processing. In other words, provide an open and closed application period. The second option was to amend the number of conditional use permits on a per capita basis. In other words, based on population pursuant to the U.S. Census 2020 population estimates. And the third option was to amend Title 5, which is the business license code section, to establish a maximum number of regulatory permits for cannabis retail use. The council directed staff to amend Title 5 and to limit the number of regulatory permits to 7. And that is also based on comments that we received from the public. The comments that were received were based on making sure that we did not have an overproliferation of cannabis uses, especially since the city is only 2.5 square miles. So now we've come back to you with an ordinance that amends Title V, known as Ordinance 934. Total of 7 CUP-DA applications can be permitted. Right now, we do have 7 applications in progress. 2 of those applications were deemed complete and have been presented to the city's planning commission. The city planning commission continued the items, so we will have them coming back to the next regularly scheduled meeting of April 17th. So in looking at the analysis, we found that the amendment is consistent with the general plan, with the land use element policy number 1, as well as policies number 4 and 5 pertaining to the city's industrial, economic, and commercial tax base. Based on the environmental review, we did find that this is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. So the actions that we're asking for you today is to find that proposed ordinance 942 is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. And the second action is to waive full reading and introduce ordinance 942 by title only, which would amend chapter 5.64 of Title V of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code to limit the number of cannabis retail regulatory permits citywide to a total of 7. With that in mind, we have also our city attorney here, Paloma McAvoy, to answer any legal questions on this ordinance. That concludes, well, I should say one more thing. With regards to the fiscal impact, currently, the development agreement process is used to approve and adopt public benefits in exchange for vested development rights to establish these cannabis permits. If someone were to go just with a CUP, there's an 18-month vested right. With a development agreement, it can be up to 10 years with additional extensions. And these public benefits can bring in additional revenue for city programs. So with that said, I'll turn it over to our city attorney, see if she has anything more she'd like to add.
Thank you, Mr. Romo. This is Paloma McAvoy with City Attorney's Office. I'm available for questions if council has any.
Any comments or questions on behalf of the city council?
So just to clarify, so we are limiting the permits to no more than 7. And does that mean we have to approve 7, or the maximum number that we could approve would be 7?
The maximum number that can be approved would be 7. Business regulatory permits are actually classified under Title V. And rather than council approval, so it's a little bit of a different process. But council would still continue to have the discretion over the CUP and the DA process.
And in terms of denying a permit, that's still assuming that they fulfill all of the requirements, we have no grounds to deny one of the permits, correct?
So as long as the application requirements are met that are laid out in Title V, a business regulatory permit would be issued. However, it could be revoked if the operator did not comply with the operating standards or some other condition of approval. And just so everybody's clear, even if it were to be revoked, an operator would have an opportunity to make an appeal on that revocation as well.
And so this is simply saying that as soon as, assuming that we have 7 qualified operators, everybody fulfills all of the requirements. Any applications that came back after those 7, there would be no more permits available.
After 7 business regulatory permits are issued, there would be no more business regulatory permits so long as those 7 remain active. So there are some instances in which there may not be an active regulatory permit. Say, for example, if they did not commence operations with in a timely manner.
Okay.
That could be an opportunity
To revoke?
To revoke and to issue a new business regulatory permit.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any other members of the city council have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will now move on to public comments for this item. I will call up 3 speakers at a time. Please make your way over to the podium to line up. City clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
point of clarification, did you open up the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on public hearing item number 1 as listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, and those cards have already been provided to the mayor, and we did not receive any written comments.
Thank you so much for that, city clerk. I'd like to call up Rogelio Rodriguez.
Nombre Rogelio Rodríguez.
My name is Rogelio Rodriguez. I live at 5575 Clara Street in Bell Gardens for more than 40 years. This is sad for me to hear that you are the ones who want to poison our community with these drugs just to get this money. Now, I know there's corruption in a lot of places, but now I know that there's corruption here too. I know you've looked at other cities. We had said that we were not going to permit marijuana here. You had said that you were not going to bring marijuana here when you were campaigning, and now you've brought it in. You want 7 marijuana shops. Doesn't that seem like that's a lot for 2.5 square miles? Maybe you can put one in each school, and if you've got some left over, put them in the churches. We have a ton of homeless people. How did they end up homeless? A lot of different ways, but one way is marijuana. That's the beginning for a lot of kids. They start with marijuana, and then we see where they get. And you all look like you're proud to pass an ordinance that the majority of people told you we don't want it, but every one of you said yes, with the exception of one person who was the one who refused. But now he is trying to get reelected on marijuana. You're using this money to be able to run a corrupt campaign. I don't hope for it. I hope it's not a child of yours that something bad happens to, because then you won't know what to say. Thank you.
City clerk, I do not have any more comments for this public hearing item.
We have a couple who have joined us by way of Zoom.
Thank you.
Zoom ID S24 Ultra, if you would please select, oh, thank you. You successfully unmuted yourself. Did you want to provide a comment on a public hearing item number 1?
I do.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed with your comment.
Good afternoon. My name is Ciro Ochoa. I lived in Bell Gardens for over 30 years. I moved out there about 15 years ago, but I still currently own property there. As a landlord, and also believing that I'm still somebody from Bell Gardens, I don't like the fact that you guys don't send this matters to landlords. I found this out because of Instagram. Another thing is, I want to see if you guys took any account or did any studies of the crime rate, how much the crime is going to go up in the city due to that. Like the gentleman just stated, it's only a 2.5 mile radius, and 7 dispensaries, or whatever you want to call them nowadays, is a lot for the city of. And also, you said revenue. How are you guys going to make revenue on this? They're not going to tell you how much they make on these items they're selling. Is a law enforcement there? Where's their believe on this. I've worked around this for a long time, and I know that the crime rate is going to go up. In the last couple of years, the crime rate has gone up in the city. It is getting back like to the early 90s, late 80s. You guys, as a city council, should have realized that this small city is going to get an influx of people from other cities coming into our small city and causing crimes. And I know if I ask you guys, you have an answer to this, you guys are not, because you guys have not done the proper study on what's going to happen to this city. Is any studies that you guys could provide, or anything you guys did prior to allowing this to happen? Is there? I haven't seen it. And the main thing is you guys need to notify landlords of what's going on, because landlords have a huge stake on this environment, on what's going on. There is about no more than 5 or 6 schools in the whole city, and you're gonna have more dispensaries than that. Like the gentleman said, I don't think there's a gateway for a lot of kids to use it, but now this is stating that the city's allowing them to use it is a norm, which it shouldn't be. Like I said, I want to ask and want to see if you guys have any studies that you guys done to prove that this is going to do something good for our community, which I doubt. And if you do, please let me know how I could obtain it. I know my time is running out. Thank you, and I hope I get some answers to these questions.
Thank you. Zoom ID, Michael Jensen, if you would please select the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Did you want
Hi, can you hear me?
comment on public hearing item number 1?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed with your comment.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Jensen. By way of background, I'm an attorney. I represent a handful of cannabis businesses, some of whom are retailers. I want to, I guess, start off by applauding the city for taking what I think is a normal approach to licensing these businesses, which is a conventional conditional use permit and public hearing process, which I think is great. I think too many cities tend to take a more complicated competitive application process that's sort of done behind closed doors. And I think this is a great example of transparency and doing something that is more akin to seeking an alcohol license if you're a restaurant. And I'm all for it because it brings these legal businesses more in line with other regulated industries like alcohol. With that said, I think I'd also just like to point out the city's tax structure for this. And I'm actually surprised you're even thinking of a cap, because it seems like the city has a free market approach to a lot of its businesses. But in the city's tax structure, the way that it is, with a 10% local tax plus $100,000 a year flat rate, sort of makes these businesses untenable in your city long term. And I know you may not believe me now, but I just want to walk through an example to sort of illustrate this. And so if we took a business that you guys permitted that does $5 million a year in revenue, the typical profit margin for one of these businesses is 20%. So out of that, you're making $1 million net. When we start getting to the taxes, $100,000 comes out off of that, so we're at $900,000. 10% public benefit fee based on gross receipts, that's $500,000. Now we're down to $400,000. State income tax is 8.84%. We'll call it $90,000. Off of that 400, you're left with 300. Federal income tax, and I don't know whether the council is aware of this, but current federal tax rules disallow cannabis businesses from taking deductions for ordinary business expenses. This means that your tax exposure is 100% of your revenue. The only thing you actually get to offset your taxable income is cost of goods. Based on that, you add up all of these taxes, every single one of the businesses is going to be underwater just from paying taxes. And so I think you guys may get 7 applications this year, and in 3 years, you'd be lucky to have a few that still exist. So I hope the council
Thank
considers
you.
it.
Your time is
Thank
up.
you.
Okay, Mayor, that was the last caller.
City Clerk, did we receive any more public hearing comments?
No, we did not. My apologies. We just got one more.
Thank you. Martha Carrasco?
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es
Hi, good evening. My name is Martha Carrasco. I live at 6825 Granger. I've been here many years. You all know me. The only thing I'm seeing, that these businesses are going to bring a lot of people, more people with these bad habits. And we have very few police officers in the city. And with all the people who are going to be coming and making trouble here, we will have less security in the city. That's all I wanted to say.
That was the last comment.
Thank you for that. City Clerk. If there's no objection by members of the City Council Successor Agency, I will close public participation for public hearing item number 1. Does any, okay, may. Okay, now I see. Okay. There's no further, if there are no further council member comments or questions, I will now close the public hearing at 6:41 PM. Does any member of the City Council Successor Agency wish have any motions on the table?
I would like to make a motion to find the proposed ordinance number 942 exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act and to waive full reading and introduce ordinance 942 by title only to amend chapter 5.64 of Title 5 of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code to limit the number of cannabis retail regulatory permits citywide.
Just for clarification, citywide for up to 7?
Correct, up to 7.
Second motion.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Gomez and a second by Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council and Successor Agency Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulido,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barcena,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Yes. We will now move on to public participation on non-agenda items. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation on non-agenda items.
Yes, thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, and we did not receive any written communication.
This is for non-agenda items, correct? Okay.
Correct.
I do have some non-agenda items, public comment cards. I'd like to call up Melody.
Good evening. My name is Melody, and I'm here to just really thank you all for all the service that you have done. More importantly, I am really excited about all the movement that has been happening in Bell Gardens, in specific in relations to supporting the arts. I feel like it's been such a big neglect in our cities of Southeast Los Angeles. And I feel like Huntington Park has done such a great job in supporting the arts, especially with a new space that has opened called Art Space HP. I believe that with the BG Arts movement, our residents will get equally as excited and have a lot more opportunity to them. I also want to call for the support of the BG renovation in regards to the golf course. I believe having the golf course be renovated to really just have a lot more parks and recreation would be so amazing for a lot of our residents. Growing up here, really the only spaces that were available to us were Southgate Park, because they have a lot of cool soccer stadiums open to the residents and a lot of really good public work that a lot of my friends from Bell Gardens, from Huntington Park, from Linwood would go out to Southgate to get these services that are not really seen in other cities. So I believe having an open and green space that is really inviting just really excites the community, and so many members, just speaking to them, really want to see their kids have access to these equitable spaces, to have a pool open. I just believe having a renovation would be really nice. And also, I guess the last point that I want to make is to continue to support the legislation for tenants. I am really proud of all the work that you guys have done. And more importantly, residents have fought so hard to support and just really get this ordinance passed. And a lot of them have actually risked a lot of their livelihoods for this ordinance. So many folks, unfortunately, have received negative comments from their own landlords, or have actually were saw increase in rent hikes that were illegal. So data really shows that a lot of these properties are LLC owned, and they are making a lot of money and profit because a lot of these properties were bought over 20, 30 years ago. So I just really want to thank you guys for continuing to support the ordinance.
I'd like to call up Rogelio Rodriguez.
First of all, I'm going to start with a little story related to what you're doing now to approve the sales of the parcels on Bell Gardens Avenue. I don't remember the name of the other street. I don't know how many studies you've done about the contamination of that land. Something happened in Commerce and at Bell Gardens. Parcels were sold on Gage and Greenwood, but since there was corruption and money, the permits were approved. But what happened to the people who bought those houses? They had to put up signs saying this land is contaminated. And you can go to Gage and Greenwood and you can see the signs that says that this land is contaminated. Same thing happened in Commerce. The parcel at Gage and Garfield. They even put cement. They put everything there. And then what did they do? They found that they were contaminated again. So then they had to knock out all of the cement. And a lot of people, even though they're saying that they're cleaning it up, people can still get injured from the contamination. You don't care about the people, you care about money more than people. I want you to do a study before you sell that land, because the developers are never going to tell the truth. They're going to say there's nothing here as long as they give them the permits, and the ones who are going to pay the price is our community. Always. It always falls on the Latinos.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you. guys tonight. I am going to make my public comments in Spanish. So, mi nombre es Alejandra Vargo.
My name is Alejandra Bargo, and I am not a resident of El Gardens. I live in San Pedro. Nevertheless, my work has brought me to this community with the Unión de Vecinas of Bell Gardens. What I want to do right now is invite the members of the community to a free event that we are organizing. And I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Barcena for all of his help. We're organizing an event here at Ross Hall where we're going to teach members of the community to make public comments. We are going to specifically use the example of Southern California Edison that is having a hearing on the 10th in Long Beach because they want to raise their rates. There are a lot of neighbors who are suffering from they're behind on their bills up to $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 that they owe. The residents may not talk to you directly, but if you start to scratch under the surface, you will see that there's a lot of need here in Bell Gardens. So I want to invite all of you to the event that we're having in Ross Hall tomorrow at 6 p.m. And thank you for your participation. Good evening. Good evening, council members. I'm here again advocating for my community. One of the points that I want to focus on now is regarding the rent control ordinance. I know that you're tired of hearing this again and again, but I really want us to continue as a community and as a city doing these workshops for tenants and for landlords. I have been a community organizer. I've gone door to door handing out this information that there is rent control and instructing my neighbors a little bit. And I realized there is so much deceit on the part of the landlords. They're being manipulated. This stereotype of in our community with tenants being afraid of landlords, afraid of harassment. I know there's a process now, but I would really like to find the magic key or the magic bullet to solve this. I know it's not easy, but with your support and working harder to get tenants and landlords informed, we have to have more outreach. It's not enough to just be on the internet. There are a lot of older people who don't go on the internet. They don't know how to go on. And there has to be a solution for this. What else can we do to do that outreach so that these people will go to these workshops that you're having for tenants and landlords? I think my community is happy that we are working together with you and Unión de Vecinas. They're happy that there's rent control, but there's halfway there. I think we have a lot still to do. And if there's any other way that we can support you, we're open to that. And please also continue supporting these art projects. There's a lot of creativity in our communities. And our young people are just discovering everything they can do, the talents they have. It is an honor for me to be at BG Art supporting all of these young people in their art and creativity. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call up Maria Padilla.
Ahora vamos a dar la palabra a María Padilla.
Good evening, council members, chief of police, everyone here present. My name is Maria Padilla. I am a resident of Bell Gardens. We have been working really hard over regarding two subjects that I want to mention to you. The golf course project is very nice. I think this will be really good for us to be able to go as a family and enjoy a play or some other arts. And I think it's very important to be able to develop the creativity of and talent of our young people. We want to get them focused on positive things. So I ask that you do support the golf course project. And the other subject I want to talk about with you today is rent control. This evening, I would like to share something with you. And I have talked with some of you about this. This ordinance is written so well that there's so much equity between tenants and landlords. But we just have to study it, learn about it, and find out what points favor each side. I was up in San Leandro near San Francisco. We were invited up there because of this ordinance, because they don't have an ordinance like ours. They have one that they approved in 2019, but it was so incomplete that the landlords are abusing the community. It's so sad to see how people were leaving their homes, being kicked out of their homes, having to live in their cars because there was no way to enforce their rent control ordinance. It's so sad to hear those stories. There were stories even sadder than the ones that we've heard here. I ask each one of you who has approved this ordinance, please let's not go back. Let's not go backwards. The people of San Leandro asked us to go up and support them because of our ordinance. So how are we going to go backwards when other communities see what a positive step we've taken? We just need to work harder to educate the community and to achieve the goal of the ordinance, which is equity.
Do we have any more comments?
Two virtual comments. Marta Pineda, if you would please select the microphone icon to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marta. I'm the community organizer with La Unión de Vecinas de Bell Gardens. I first want to commend and really provide a huge gratitude to the council for recognizing the arts. It truly is the backbone of society, backbone of culture. And I do think being able to provide avenues for artistic development and artistic expression is a foundation for health, mental health, emotional health, and physical health. That being said, I think the same goes for the renovations for the golf course. My fondest memories as a child were always at a park. And then when I go back to them now as an adult, I'm like, wow, these parks are very small or they're not well taken care of. And I do think the golf course is a huge and beautiful piece of land that should be public to all families in Bell Gardens, and that will develop, I think, the physical and mental and emotional health of the families in Bell Gardens. And lastly, I do want to thank the council who actively supported the RSO, the Rent Stabilization Ordinance, in 2022. This did take years of research done through the city, years of ad hoc meetings, years of public workshops to gain public input, and as well as a plethora of council meetings to get the ordinance that we have today passed. I do think it was a historic win in the region of Southeast Los Angeles. It has sparked a wave of housing justice in other cities like Maywood and Cudahy, and how the last public comment mentioned, it has impacted and influenced other cities throughout the state of California. As someone who works at a Latina reproductive justice organization, we also believe that it's a universal right for our kids and our families to live in a safe, healthy, accessible, and dignified environment. The environment includes quality air, like trees, like parks, quality water, quality soil, and the quality home, the actual home we live in. So housing, quality housing, accessible housing for our families is reproductive freedom. The RSO in Bell Gardens keeps families with a roof over their head. It protects the most vulnerable, elders, children, disabled folks. It is homeless prevention, and it allows for guardians and families and parents to spend more bonding time with their kids or their elders to develop a healthy relationship instead of having to work 2 to 3 jobs to pay an overpriced rent. Despite, inflation, I would say the worst consequence of that to a landlord is selling an investment property and making a huge capital gain off of it. Even though inflation for a renter, that means losing their home. That means losing their home and sleeping in a car or on the street. If a property investor has to sell their home, they can still get a huge sale price out of that
Thank
home.
you. Your time is up. Zoom ID zeros S24 Ultra. Did you want to provide a comment on non-agenda items?
I do. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me speak again. I am going to talk about a little bit of the RSOs that you guys imposed upon the city. For some communities, or this community, I think it's a good idea, but one main thing or big thing you guys didn't think about is the landlords, such as I. I lived in Bell Gardens for about 31 years. I've seen how the low income families are there, and my main goal was to assist with that. I have a multi-unit dwelling in Bell Gardens on Fostoria. I invested a lot of money on it. That was my primary residence for 6, 7 years. My child turned 5. My wife decided there's not a safe city for my kid to live in, even though I was raised there. So we moved out. We invested money in all 3 properties. My tenant has been, one of my oldest tenants has been there over 22 years. And the newest tenants have been there since we moved out, so about 13, 14 years. My rents are low for that reason, to help out the community. And it's so sad that the city put rent control on this in this area without notifying the landlords, or if they were, I wasn't notified. And due to that, I might lose my properties because as their rents are low, my taxes are high. I pay insurance on these properties, and I don't see no benefit behind it. Like I told my tenants, I don't see a reason for keeping the property in Bell Gardens because I'm gonna start losing money. The city never did the due diligence by inquiring what are the rents each individual landlord is charging. I do believe some landlords were charging way too much, but people like me that were under market value, you should take it into consideration with that. I will never catch up to the fair market value of the properties. When you guys send out, when my wife did her research to raise up the rents a couple years ago, she found out there was rent control. We found out that we were under market value, almost, well, all 3 units, almost 30 to 40%. I'm never going to catch up to fair market value. You guys are posing for us to lose the properties, and also our tenants to not have somewhere to live. Our tenants are willing to pay more, but due to legal reasons, we don't charge them more than what you guys allow us to. Do you guys ever think about that? What's going to happen with the landlords when they're under market value? They're never going to catch up to fair market value. And you guys are talking about equality, right? There's no equality here. It's all about the tenants. Sorry to say, the tenants cannot afford to buy their property. They're subject for rent. And the rent is there for a reason, because the landlords have to do the upkeep. Here in a couple of years, when the properties get deteriorate, how am I going to get the money to fix these properties? I just fixed a water heater. That's a couple $1,000. The rent don't cover that anymore. The money I saved up throughout the years covers it. Did you guys ever think about that? I know my time is up. I had a lot more to say, so thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that was the last caller.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. There's no objection by the members of the City Council. I will close public participation for non-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation on agenda items.
Thank you. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from members of the public that are physically present, and we did not receive any written communications.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. I'd like to call up Adan Loya.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Chief and staff. My name is Alan Loya. I would like to speak on item number 14. Just want to say thank you for this opportunity. I want to talk about Mr. C's Towing. Mr. C's Towing has been in business since 1986. We have 18 municipal contracts, 60 employees, 80% of our employees live in the Southeast, many in Bell Gardens. We have 3 locations, secure facilities, including cameras, evidence cage for the police department. We also are involved in the community by helping schools, scholarships, trunk or treat at that time of October, helping the community with etching, catalytic converters, helping the police department. A couple of years ago in the pandemic, we actually helped the community. We got involved in nonprofits in the casino to help out with food giveaway, diapers, wipes, and help the community. I know there's a problem, the 710 freeway, all the pollution of the freeway, and it's not good for the Sela communities. So we're having conversations with Ford and Chevrolet about buying tow trucks. We want to be the first company in the United States to have green tow trucks. We want to be electric, and I know that's good for the environment. And our contract on page 2, section D, there's a renewal clause that stated that City Council might consider requests for the franchisee to renew this agreement in 5 years. The extension of the term is exercised by the City Council. We would like to ask the City Council to extend 5 more years and continue to provide a good service for the police department and also be involved in the community. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you, and I appreciate the time.
Clerk, do we have any more comments on agenda items?
We do not.
Seeing none, if there's no objection by the members, I will close public participation on agenda items. City Manager, will you please give your report?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Chavez. The report's a little bit longer than normal since we had a break from council meetings due to the Cesar Chavez holiday. So just want to acknowledge. And 20, as we do every month. There was commentary here about
Hubo comentario aquí sobre
we offer these every month. They're here at City Hall, one day for property owners, one day for tenants. We're happy to talk about this ordinance and go to the details of it and share the areas that may be of important concern for property owners and tenants. Just want to thank council, staff, all the departments, and for residents and visitors for coming out to the Spring Festival and Egg Hunt. A couple Saturdays ago, it was pouring rain, and right when just in time for staff to set up through the rain, so appreciate that. It stopped right when it was time for residents and visitors to come out and have a good time. So thankful that event was able to happen. Also, just want to mention, as we said, recognize Cesar Chavez Day. We recognize it on Monday, March 25th. Acknowledge last week was spring break for Montebello Unified, and as always, we had a spring break day camp at Veterans Park that was well attended throughout the week. We did have to cancel our skate jam last Friday due to a combination of rain, cold, and wind. I think it was around 54 degrees and winds about 18 or 20 miles per hour for an outdoor event. So that's being rescheduled to the first Friday of June. So we'll have the bands and the DJ and acts out there at that time. Want to mention an opportunity for residents to join what's called the Community Emergency Response Team. It's in Espanol, it's in Spanish. This is on April 12th, 13th, and 14th. So it's a commitment. It's 20 hours. It's for training that's put on by the police department, the fire department, and the city. And it's, as I said, it's for community emergency response team. So this would be for residents that would have these 20 hours of trainings. And if there were any type of an emergency, an earthquake, or things of that nature, these would be residents and neighbors that would be able to help their families and help other people in the community while it took time for there to be state resources or federal resources or other services to show up. So there are people on the grounds that would have some training as to help people get proper shelter, food, and things of that nature. If you just go to our Bell Gardens calendar, go to our app, go to the calendar, you'll see how to sign up for that. Also want to mention on Tuesday, April 16th and Wednesday, April 17th, here at City Hall in the evening, we'll have our workshops again for property owners and for tenants. So please come out. We recognized earlier that the month of April, we're recognizing arts advocacy. So on Saturday, April 20, that's Earth Day. We also have a big feature of this event is the art walk. We just put social media out there, so we have a call for artists. So if you have anybody that is artistically inclined, please let them know. If they go to our website, they can find information to apply to participate as artists. And then for residents, we've got two things going there, Earth Day event and art walk. So are encouraged to show up for this event. Also, we've got a couple programs that have application deadlines that are open and are out right now. The first one is our high school graduate banner program. So this is for high school graduates in the city of Bell Gardens. The deadline to apply is May 1st. If you don't have pictures to submit, we're offering free picture days. This, again, you can find through our app or through our website. So if somebody missed their senior pictures or don't have the other some other opportunity to get pictures to submit for this banner program, we'll have a free picture day available for them. The second item with a deadline of May 3rd is the Bell Gardens Scholars application. So we've got 4 scholarships available in total, a little over $6,000 worth of scholarships for four different scholars. The deadline for that is May 3rd. The final item is the Cesar Chavez Art and Essay Contest. This is open until May 6th, and this is open for all grades up through from K through 12. There's thousands of dollars in prize money, I think $3,000 to $5,000 worth of prize money available and for honorable mentions. And the last couple items I will mention is just if you have not done already, if you're listening either on Zoom or in person, please download our app. It's Bell Gardens Connect. And also, if so inclined, if you could please take the stakeholder survey. Stakeholder survey is applicable to residents, property owners, business owners, and visitors. You can take it anonymously and is very helpful. That survey is open through April 22nd. So with that, I'll thank you, Mayor, and turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much for that detailed report, Mr. City Manager. We will now move on to consent calendar. Does any member of the council successor agency wish to pull an item for separate discussion? I'd like to pull one item, item number 12. And then seeing no other items being pulled, can I call for a motion? I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items number 2 to 12 on consent calendar, with the exception of 12.
2 to 11.
2 to 11. Yeah. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Mayor Chavez, second by Mayor Pro Tem Barcena. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Members of the council and successor agency Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulido,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barcena, and Mayor Chavez.
That's a yes. We'll move on to item number 12. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. So this item here, at Mayor Chavez's suggestion, we were made aware of a grant, $250,000 grant called the Neighbor to Neighbors Grant. Our Recreation Community Services Department took a look at the grant, worked with our grant consultant, Global Urban Strategies, and wrote up an application, submitted it. And this was a grant for a program that basically pays for programs, activities, and events that offer volunteer opportunities and relationship building for residents. It's a grant that runs over an 18-month period of time, and we're committed to doing about 25 events, programs, so small block parties. The point of the grant, it's called the Neighbors to Neighbors Grant. So the point is, after coming out of a COVID environment where we've all been back at that time, we're all quarantined and staying away from each other, as an attempt to bring people back together again on a smaller scale basis. So it looked like a great grant. We applied for it and we did receive it. A lot of work involved. As you can see, there's 25 programs, activities over the next 18 months, in addition to all of the things that we're already working on. So with that, staff recommendation is to adopt the resolution and approve the grant with the state for this program. We'd be happy to answer any more questions, Mayor, rest of council.
Any members of the city council have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question about these events. Did our staff come up with them?
Yes, so these are events that we've proposed as part of the grant. We tried to come up with events that, as I mentioned, were some small scale, some a little bit bigger scale, but they gave us the best opportunity to receive the grant. I do believe that there is some, I'll ask for clarification from our Recreation Community Services Director, that there is some leeway on some of these grants to move them around a little bit or to change the nature of them slightly and still stay within compliance of the grant. Can you confirm that, Director, please?
Yes, absolutely. We're at a minimum providing this number with the specific categories of the events and activities as is designated by the grant, but it's within the city's purview to accommodate the grant. And so as long as we're checking off the boxes, we have a little bit of freedom in how we can make that happen.
Well, it looks great. So thank you for your efforts. That's all for me.
Any other comments or questions? I do have a quick question, Director Nava, in regards to what's being covered with the grant. Obviously, I've seen the research on the agenda portal. Will staff time be covered with this grant as well?
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, there will be some money allocated towards staff time. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was curious if it was only for like supplies that we buy, or if we needed tables, chairs, banners, whatever the case is. But if also we can have more staff to perhaps assist in the event. I know that's always great to have. With that said, I have no more comments or questions. And if there's no more comments or questions on behalf of the City Council, I'd like to make a motion to approve this attached resolution and approve the State of California Department of General Services Standard Agreement with the Office of Planning and Research, California Volunteers for the Local Government Connecting Neighbor to Neighbor Grant in the amount of $250,000. Can I get a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion by Mayor Chavez, second by Councilmember De Leon Sanchez. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Member of the Council and Successor Agency Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulido,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barcelona,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Yes. Moving on to discussion item number 13. City Manager, please announce the next item.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Chavez. This item is staff recommendation that the council review the commission's appointment list and by motion remove commissioners and or make appointments to the posted vacancies. Thank you, Mayor.
Any member of the council have any changes they would want to make on the commission's appointments list?
I think I have one. I'm just catching up right now with the list. Give me 1 second, please. Okay. So I have one vacancy on the Planning Commission. I'd like to assign Ernesto Ramirez to the commission.
Is there a motion for Ernesto Ramirez for the Planning Commission?
And I'll move.
All right, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a motion to approve Ernesto Ramirez to the Planning Commission by motion by Mayor Pro Tem Barcenas, second by De Leon Sanchez. Can we get a Councilwoman De Leon Sanchez? Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council and Successor Agency Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulido,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barcelona,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Yes, for myself. Any more changes? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item number 14. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. This item is for the council to consider a request to renew the vehicle towing and storage services agreement. So as Mr. C's representative, Don Loya mentioned, as part of the public comment, we were contracted with Mr. C's back in 2019. Their contract does allow a provision for them to request a 5-year extension to their contract. Before I turn it over to Lieutenant Barrios for a presentation on this item, I just want to say, Mr. C's is our current provider of towing services, storage services. They do a great job for the city. I think if you ask the police department, you ask the city manager, they've come through in the service that they provide over the last 5 years. So we're happy to have been working with them over this time, and we still have time on their contract, so we'll at least be working with them through that period of time and maybe further into the future, regardless of what the council's decision is here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Barrios.
So I have a brief presentation, pretty much what city manager covered. Obviously, I have a tow contract for the city, Mr. C's. Why does the city need a tow contract? Well, the city of Bell Gardens regularly requires motor vehicle towing and storage services, including the removal of abandoned vehicles, stolen or damaged, occasional towing of city vehicles, and also the storage of vehicles for evidentiary purposes. Towing services are not limited only to the police department, but all city vehicles as well. The community also benefits from a towing service on certain occasions, like an emergency or someone locks their keys in their car, things of that nature. This is the current contract with Mr. C's Towing. Start the contract in October of 2019, a 5-year agreement that will expire October of this year. Part of the agreement, Section 2D, allows Mr. C's Towing to request to renew the contract for an additional 5 years. And they would have to do that within 120 days of the expiration of the current contract. So having said that, Mr. C's Towing complied with Section 2D, and on March 30th submitted filed the request to extend the contract. Now, the city is not required and has no obligation to move forward with the renewal. Here's the options for city council. Accept the renewal or deny the renewal, which is pretty basic, right? If we decide to renew the current contract, agree to the 5-year extension for with Mr. C's, the fiscal impact will be similar to what's set in place now. The service will remain the same with no real change. If we do not renew the contract, then we proceed with a request for proposal process. We would obtain quotes from various tow companies, evaluate each tow company, and then council, we would bring it back to council for a recommendation. And an unknown fiscal impact, obviously, because we would get quotes from different towing companies. And that's pretty much it.
Any members of the council have any questions or comments?
Just a couple of questions, Lieutenant. So, what is the level of service that you guys have been receiving currently from Mr. C since they've been contracted for the last 5 years?
And like Mr. Adan Loya said, we work well together with the towing company. They have 3 locations, very secure locations. When we need it for to store cars for evidence, we pretty much use them on a daily basis. Anything from unlocking vehicles to storing vehicles, impounding vehicles. So we do use them a lot. It's a service that the whole city uses, but the police department probably uses it more than anybody else. And we'd be pretty happy with the service.
And so the current contract are they the only people that we contract with?
Correct. They're the only company that we have towing contract with at this point.
And in terms of service, are they exclusive to the city of Bell Gardens needs, or do they also operate just at large within the city for any, like if a resident calls it, somebody's blocking their driveway?
So as far as the contract agreement we have with Mr. C's, it's anytime the police department requires tow service, they're exclusive to us. However, I'm sure that they have contracts everywhere. With regards to the public though, that would be something that the public could receive a service from them, but they would have to pay on their own. That's not, we're not covering that.
And one more question. So, is there anything that precludes us from contracting with more than one company or, I don't know, has anybody looked into that?
Chief will answer that.
The current contract will only allow us to use Mr. C's. Now, with future contracts, we could open it up to maybe one or two towing companies. But the current contract right now would be the only direct towing company services that the police department could have contact is Mr. C's.
And I don't know if you have this information.
Thank you. Apologies for that. So Councilman, if I could just clarify what the chief is saying. So currently we only have one contract with one tow provider, which is Mr. C's. They don't have a right to have the only franchise. We could opt to have a second contract if we brought something to the council and the council were to adopt something like that. So it's kind of, the answer is yes, this is the only contract we have that provides service. But if the council will want to have somebody else also providing services, the city does have the right to do that.
And just in terms of expenditures, how much do we spend on this contract?
So the services are, we don't really spend money on the services. So the services are provided by the tow company. They charge rates for towing. So if they tow your vehicle and you pick it up within X amount of time, you pay a certain rate. If it's over 24 hours, there's rules and rates there. So they actually pay an annual fee for the franchise agreement to work within the city of Bell Garden. So City of Bell Garden says we need this services done. In this case, Mr. C's agreed to pay $12,000 per year franchise agreement to operate for the city, and then they also pay us a percentage of the fees that are charged for the towing services to cover our administrative costs of providing those services, of coordinating it. So let's say if the police department needs vehicles moved, they've got to call Mr. C's. There's a cost associated with that. So essentially, it's a net. There's no net cost to the city from the tow services agreement. So really what you would be looking for is level of service at the lowest rates and also at the timeliness of them responding to calls as well. Those would be some of the major things that you look at as you're looking at proposals or as you're looking at a contract for tow services. So we don't pay for those services. The services are paid for by the person that illegally parked the vehicle or park the vehicle, somewhere that they weren't supposed to, in front of a fire hydrant, and access is needed, something like that. Hope that answers a question, council member.
Yes and no. So in terms of, like, for example, any vehicles that are towed and that are stored for evidentiary purposes, who incurs the cost for that?
I'll let the chief answer that question.
Yeah, there are certain sections that the actual city will cover the cost of if we're storing the vehicle. The law allows us to keep the vehicle anywhere from maybe 2 to 3 days at the cost of the register owner, but after that, the cost will be part of the city or the police department. We would have to pay that cost.
Any more comments or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion on the floor?
I would like to make a motion to deny the request for a 5-year extension and direct staff to issue a request for proposal for towing and storage services.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Gomez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Barcena. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, thank you. Members of the council, Successor Agency Gomez,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulido,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Barcena,
Yes.
and Mayor Chavez.
Yes. Moving on to items to the final section of the agenda, comments. We will now move on to council member comments, beginning with Councilmember Gomez.
And thank you to staff for all of the work that they've done during these crazy rains that we've had, the rainstorms that we've had. It seems like it's a little bit late in the year to be getting rainstorms like this, but I know that Public Works has been on top of it. And they've been preparing the sandbags and making sure that residents have access to that. Also, I am pleased to see that the work is all well underway at Ford Park to install the new lighting features that are there, that will be there. So thank you for that. And again, just thanks to staff for being there, rain or shine, for the city events. I think it matters to residents that we have these events, and sometimes, you'd rather be at home nice and warm and not out in the rain, but thank you for being there.
No comments from me.
I want to thank all the staff for all the hard work that you guys have done. I especially want to thank the recreation staff for the spring event. I know with the rain and everything, seeing you guys set up and just push through the community, and everybody still came out and really enjoyed it. So thank you so much to all the staff. I do want to encourage all the students and also the residents to share with their families about the Bell Garden Scholarship that's due May 3rd. That's for all seniors that live in the city of Bell Garden. So please make sure that you put the application, which is due May 3rd. Also, it's wonderful to see the graduate banners on our streets. So I encourage all the seniors to please apply for that. The deadline for that is May 1st. And then we currently have our art and essay contest for Cesar Chavez, and that is applicable to students that are in kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So I encourage everybody to participate. I know in the past, we've had teachers do that in their classrooms as an assignment and submit that. So I definitely encourage, teachers to go ahead and do that. And that application is due on May 6th. Thank you so much.
Mayor Pro Tem Barson.
Yes, I want to provide some comments in regards to the workshops and also thank the Community Development Director, Gustavo Romo. Thank you for being out there. I know it's not easy to educate the public. I know that we had some comments today from our tenants and also our property owners, and I think it's evident that the biggest mission for us now that the resolution has passed is to make sure that we're out there providing this information in a way that our residents, specifically our residents, can digest that information. It could be quite dense, right? Talking about CPI, talking about what exceptions there are, special cases for people under 80%, et cetera. It can get complicated for some of our residents. So I just want to encourage some creative thinking and continue to push, because without us really finalizing this process by educating the public, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to have it fully benefit our constituents. So, but nevertheless, thank you. I know that you guys are working very hard. Another thing I wanted to mention is the app. I'm very happy to be able to talk to residents about the app that we have now. It's really useful, right? We can report if we see a pothole or if we see tagging. It's so easy to take a picture and geotag it so that our staff can respond right away. And I've already gone through the process of teaching some of our residents how to actually do it. It's not complicated, but unfortunately, we do need to walk them through the process. What I wanted to do was ask if we can have some of our recreation staff trained in how to teach residents, especially our older residents, how to use this app. For example, at the art and yard sale every Friday in the early afternoon, because of the schedule, we do get a lot of seniors, and we do get a lot of residents that maybe are not as tech capable or technologically inclined. And I do see a lot of staff out there, you know, overseeing the art and yard sale. And I think that would be a great opportunity for those staff to also kind of provide an additional service while they're there. And I think it will allow us to increase the adoption rate of this app that I feel is super useful. It can also lighten the workload from the office here. You know, maybe we get less calls and we get more direct service requests. So just some ideas that I hope we can maybe implement in the near future. Also, I want to thank Maripaz. You know, she's one of the examples of the outreach that's happening at the art and yard sale. She has this project called El Kiosquito de Bell Gardens, where she offers all these resources and she offers a lot of flyers for all of our events. I kind of wish that we can also have a collection of flyers at the staff booth and also maybe have some knowledge about services that we can deliver one-on-one while we're out there. Because I know we're doing a great job at the Family Resource Center, but I feel like maybe we could also use this opportunity to do the same thing. So many things going on. We have the art and yard sale. I'm sorry, the art walk, as the city manager mentioned. There was a flyer put out today. I am a little bit concerned because this event is already next week. I've already talked to the city manager about it, but I wanna express that you know, the arts are really important, not to me, but they're important to the residents that were here today. They're gone now. You know, they're busy. They have to do other things, but it's so important for them, and I see that, and I feel a little bit disillusioned sometimes when things are not done on a timely manner. So I just hope that we can get the support that our residents deserve. Most of these people that are doing arts, I did not know before I became a council member. This is a product of just outreach in the community, and these people are coming together organically, and I want to make sure we do everything we can to support them, because when kids are out there at their booth at the art walk and they're putting out their work, they're putting out something that they've never had the courage to really show the rest of the community. When they're out there and we're not getting all the people that we can to make them feel good about what they're doing, I feel like we're kind of failing a little bit. So I wanna make sure that for the next couple of weeks, we do everything we can to allow these kids to have a great experience, allow them to be encouraged to pursue their dreams and their passions, because that's what I'm here to do. And I know that that's what a lot of the council members here want to do. I know that they all appreciate art. I know that they see that as a reflection of our community, their values and their culture. And we want to make sure that we continue to allow them to thrive. So please support me on that. Please, let's figure out how to get back on track with promoting the event that's next week. And I really, truly appreciate everything you guys do. I just want to make sure that you guys get this message right now. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your comments. As for mine, want to keep it somewhat brief. Want to begin by saying that about 2 weeks ago on Saturday, had the pleasure of attending Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco's recognition of Woman of the Year. And one of our residents who is present right here, Maria Padilla, got recognized on behalf of the city of Bell Gardens for being Woman of the Year for Assembly District 64. So again, just goes to show the tremendous contribution that she has on the community, that women like her in our community have played. Very, very important and vital. So thank you so much, Maria Padilla, for representing Bell Gardens well, and for always being a warrior in our city. Next week, I'll be attending the California Cities conference up in Sacramento. It'll be from Wednesday through Thursday. We're going to be meeting with our legislators, meeting with Assemblywoman Blanca Pacheco, and then State Senator Lina Gonzalez. Again, top priorities for the city, right? The aquatic aquatics project, and, you know, our water system cleanup. Those are two big things that we should definitely, we're continually focusing on and trying to figure out who's going to be held accountable. So it's interesting. It's an interesting time with the state being in a deficit, but I know that there are cities and the counties that are working to put forward their projects. So on behalf of me, I'll be attending that. And then the week after, for the next council meeting that we'll be having, I will be attending a seminar at Arizona State University for on housing for Latinos. I believe that housing is such a tremendous important topic. Here in our city, we've been a model for the state of California when it comes to implementing rent stabilization and just cause evictions. So again, being able to take what we've done here and see how it can be emulated in other cities. Again, I'm truly proud to say that we've been seen as a model when it's come to seeing how cities can tackle this issue. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. And again, going in with that mentality of what our communities make up, right? Renters, majority dominant renters, 80%, majority immigrant community coming from South and South, Central, and Mexico, America. So good conversations. I want to say I also have been using the BG Connect app. It's been a really great resource to have. Sometimes I'll be driving, and if I see anything that's on on the street, whether that be a mattress or just some trash that's being maybe thrown out, I'll go ahead and pull over, take a picture of it. And it gets you exposed to different things around the community, right? Sometimes we get in our cars and we drive off, and we sometimes don't really get to see the nitty-gritty things of our streets. I try to make it a priority to walk every once in a while. I'm trying to get one of those scooters, electric scooters, to get around the whole city. Some of them have really good range of like 8 miles. So our city is only 2.5 miles, so I'll be able to go do laps around. So yeah, but it's been a great. I think last time I submitted something was on Friday. I find myself sometimes submitting up to 3 to 4 requests a day. And there's goods and bads to it, but I mean, I know we're continually working better on it. Last time I checked, I was request number 62. And it's good to see that we're continually getting more requests and so on and so forth. I do want to ask for an item to be brought to our agenda, hopefully by the next meeting, if not in the early meeting in May, as I should have said in the beginning. For the next council meeting, I will be attending virtually, as I will be at Arizona State University for that housing seminar. So I'll be using AB 2449 to be able to say, because I'm at attending on behalf of a government organization for that. So I would ask for perhaps maybe in the meeting in May, the first meeting, to bring an item forward about mobile home parks. I know that's been somewhat of a conversation that we've had, and I know externally there's been conversations or litigation around whether or not just cause evictions and rent stabilization is covered for mobile home parks. We've had our fair share of comments and concerns in regards to residents. And just overall, what I want to see is a presentation done about whether or not just cause evictions and rent stabilization applies to the mobile home, what is considered justification, and who's the overseer of the conditions of the mobile home parks. I know we've gone back and forth about whether or not it's HCD, the Housing Community Development Corporate State branch, or some of the conditions as well in the mobile home parks should also be considered. So for the next time, perhaps maybe in the first meeting of April, we bring that up. Finally, want to end on a note on 2 fun things. I've been working with other council members and mayors throughout Southeast LA, and we're working on bringing a half marathon to the region. I've been in conversation with Cristian Vasquez from the Sela Bicycle Center, Wilma Franco from the Sela Collaborative. We're working on trying to get the conversation started. We've already gotten approval from Assemblymember Rendon's office, State Senator Lina Gonzalez's office, and also our Congressman Robert Garcia. So it's a great initiative. I know we have the LA Marathon that happens, but what a great partnership for our city to have a half marathon go through it in Bell Garden. So it's interesting. We're the only city of Southeast LA that's on this side of the LA River. So it's exciting stuff. And I know next week I'll be meeting with Cristian Vasquez from the Sela Bicycle Center. So with that said, that wraps up my comments. And if there's no more comments or
Actually, yes.
yes.
A couple of things that I missed. That's the problem with going first, that you forget. So I just wanted to remind residents that it's not too late to file your income tax return, even if you have zero income. If you have children, and you have zero income, you're depending on public assistance, please, please, please file your income tax return because you could be eligible for tax credits in the amount of $2,000. I don't have the other exact amounts on me, but this is money, this is your money. This is money that the state of California is giving back to families. So this is your money. You don't have to pay it back. So please be sure that you complete your income tax return. You can go to claimyourcashla.com, I believe it is. And so you can get your free tax prep appointment. Free Tax Prep LA is the organization that is providing these services, along with partners. These are all certified, tax preparers. So they will not steer you wrong. The other thing that I wanted to let people know is that we are anticipating that in the month of April, the state of California, the California Air Resources Board, has a e-bike incentive voucher program for persons with low income. And this is a program that will help you to purchase an e-bike. There are 3 different classes of e-bikes that you would be able to purchase if you are approved for the voucher. That includes cargo bikes. You can get up to $2,000 for a cargo bike. So please keep an eye out for that. You can go to calbike.org to look up more information on when that application period will be opening. So please check that out. And in relation to CalBike, I just want to let you all know that I will be attending the CalBike Summit that is happening next week in San Diego, and I will be traveling by bicycle and by train to get down to San Diego to attend the CalBike Summit. The purpose of that summit is to bring back information on current policy around environmental justice, the things that we can do within our city to improve transportation mobility, micro-mobility projects and things like that. So I'm excited to be doing that, and just, keep me in your prayers so that I make it home safely, make it there and back safely on my bicycle. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Gomez. On the topics of bikes, how's that Cheryl painting going? I know we've talked about that, but I'm curious. I think I want to know quickly if there's what's the timeline looking like?
Yes, Mayor, we're looking to bring the plans and specs to council hopefully by the first meeting of May. That's the target, if not moving as fast as we can.
Thank you so much for that. It's exciting time.
And our bike event, by the way.
Cinco de Mayo.
On Cinco de Mayo, please keep that in mind. We should have announcements forthcoming. This will be your chance to ride on streets without cars. So this will be family friendly. Please be sure that all your children have helmets. And I encourage adults to wear helmets by law. Anyone under 18 must wear a helmet when they ride their bike. So yes, thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, with that said, if there's no more comments or questions or discussion points from the City Council Successor Agency, I will close this joint meeting at 7:47 p.m. Thank you.